Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third. Sandra Herrera and Lisa Carlin here to chat breaking news. It is very much reported in speculation, but we have an answer. U.S. women's national team defender Naomi Girma is set to transfer to Chelsea for a women's soccer record of $1.1 million, according to reports. Currently, Naomi Girma is on the Waves preseason roster, and she has reported to San Diego this week for preseason, while the paperwork and Girma's contract at Chelsea is still under negotiations. But Sandra, there have been rumors flying around about this defender. And finally, we have transfer rumor answers. Girma to Chelsea.
I mean, we're here. We've arrived. This is it. It's wild to think about how this 2025 is kicking off already because it feels like just the other day we did an episode about like wish lists that we want to see in the future. It was me, you, Aaron West, Darian, things that we think were, we looked into our crystal ball and we said maybe these are things that could happen. And my kind of next step wish was that Naomi Girma was going to be the first $2 million transfer. It's not quite that number, but oh my goodness, is it close? This is an absolutely historic move for a equally historic player. I think the word generational gets thrown around today like pencil shavings in the wind, and with no thought behind it. And for me, I think when we talk about generational players, it's players who force us to analyze and think about the game in different ways. And Naomi Girma is 100% that player. And she's doing it on the pitch, and her performance and all of it on the pitch is forcing us to talk about it in these ways off of it. And now she's got the record for a world-setting transfer fee, and it's gonna not only belong to her, but also belong in small parts to Chelsea and to the Wave.
Absolutely legendary for Naomi Girma to head out of the NWSL to the Women's Super League at just 24 years old. She has already accomplished so much. A number one draft pick in the NWSL draft, then later that year named Rookie of the Year, Defender of the Year. She was then named U.S. Soccer Female Player of the Year in 2024, or in 2023, excuse me, and then won an Olympic gold medal with the United States women's national team. Naomi Girma currently under contract with the San Diego Wave until 2026, hence requiring this giant transfer fee from Chelsea. And there was a lot of rumors over the last several months after the NWSL season ended about where Girma would go, that she was set to leave the NWSL, but there was rumors that she would go to Arsenal, Chelsea, of course, in the Women's Super League, and also Lyon. What else is there that we need to know about this, Sandra? And maybe why is she going to the Women's Super League?
Well, I just want to preface this by saying I'm very thankful that it's it's the Women's Super League. I don't. Once we heard some of the different rumors or saw some of the rumors flying out there that it was general interest from European clubs and that one of them might have been Lyon, kind of made you wonder, like, okay, well, this is a very, very talented player who you look at probably if she wants to make a move, will likely want to make a move to make sure that she continues to have the best environments and goes up some against some really high level competition in Europe. And I don't know if France is the answer to that. So there was I think, some layers of that for folks in reacting to some of this news, and where it's like, okay, well, that's great that she's getting so much attention, but where is she going to land, and what's that going to look like for her playing future? And it's going to be Women's Super League, which I think we can arguably say provides some incredible competition week in and week out whenever we find ourselves able to sort of chat about it and analyze it on Attacking Third. And so I think when you take a look and narrow that lens for the clubs that you mentioned, there comes a point where maybe you have to find yourself not actually in the race for a player, not so much of her talents, but the money behind it, honestly. When we're talking about $1.1 million, this is unheard of before ever in the women's game. And so you also have to combine that with the fact that maybe only some clubs can compete with those type of dollar signs. So maybe it shouldn't be too surprising that at one point a Olympic Lyon backed by Michelle Kane were potentially in the running for that. But perhaps her being behind that move a little bit, maybe move the meter a little bit for Chelsea as well. Maybe that's why we're now seeing the headline say 1.1.
Reports saying that Lyon offered a transfer fee of $1 million, Chelsea upping the ante to $1.1 million. I mean, this is absolutely huge for Naomi Girma as a player individually, right? Like, I have to think about this as a person, someone who is so young, 24 years old. She really only has a couple years of professional experience, but now she gets to go spread her wings and learn so much more. Playing internationally in England, of course, in the Women's Super League, which is going to provide competition, different looks, even her teammates playing alongside some incredible English internationals. You look at Millie Bright in that center back position as well. But Chelsea competes in Champions League. For Naomi Girma to be able to experience Champions League competition, the standard is set so high at Chelsea and in Champions League, and Naomi Girma deserves to experience that. A year or two ago, we saw defender Emily Fox, U.S. Women's National Team defender, go from the NWSL to Arsenal in the Women's Super League, and she's continued to evolve her game, be pushed out of her boundaries, and now that similar type of situation is going to be happening for Naomi Girma. It's really cool to see what is happening in the women's game. And Emma Hayes, the head coach at the U.S. Women's National Team senior level, has talked about how she wanted the players on her team to go to Europe, to play with different clubs in different leagues. And now we're starting to see that with Naomi Girma. You have to think, Sandra, a little bit about outside of just this transfer, what's happening at Chelsea, what's happening at San Diego Wave. I mean, the Wave going through 3 different coaches last year after saying goodbye to their head coach, not having the successful winning season that they wanted, and now losing a lot of players in these transfers. Naomi Girma is just almost another domino in that. But when you think specifically at where Girma is going and Chelsea, she will now be playing alongside the likes of Millie Bright, Neve Charles, Lucy Bronze in the back line. Also some U.S. teammates in Kat Macario up top as well. Myra Ramirez up top. What is this going to do to Chelsea, adding in a world-class defender like Naomi Girma?
I mean, if you thought Chelsea was unstoppable before this move, I don't know how you take a look at the potential addition of Girma and say, yeah, that'll shake things up to the point where it's going to cause a little bit of a wrench in their plans. No, it's going to make that machine perhaps operate a little bit better. And this is a team that will find themselves in competing in multiple areas, of the women's game. Obviously, competing for titles within Women's Super League, but you look ahead to potentially seeing someone like Girma in Champions League games, alongside running a campaign in Women's Super League with Chelsea. They're going to get the opportunity to go up against some pretty competitive teams, both domestically and within major European competition. And even with Chelsea perhaps navigating some areas of player retention, maybe needing to make those negotiations with players and their contracts, this is such a huge get. It's one of those types of additions that almost is a bit of a bartering chip in your favor if you're Chelsea. Players also want to play with some of the best in the world. And if you find yourself maybe trying to renegotiate things with players on your club in order to try to retain them and keep them in, this is absolutely something that you point to and say, yeah, you're going to get some access to some incredible coaching here with Bon Pastor and her staff, and you're going to get to continue to play with some of the best in the world, and that is going to include Naomi Girma. So it's a massive swing and home run for Chelsea. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks who are reacting to it stateside at a club level who will look at it as a loss, who will look at it as not only another loss for San Diego Wave and how they're going to continue to navigate their rebuild and who they're going to bring in and try to build. But it's maybe even as NWSL, people love that as well. They're going to look at that and say, oh, like it's a loss for the Americans and things like that. But it's going to be beneficial. You're going to see that kind of stuff play out in other areas. I can't imagine that Girma goes to a club like Chelsea, plays against teams like Man City or Arsenal or Man United, or plays against other major European squads like Lyon and Barcelona, and doesn't get better and somehow not see that translate to the international stage with the U.S. women's national team. So it's all gonna find itself kind of working itself out in other ways, in other arenas.
Sandra, it's very funny to think about how all the Chelsea fans, when Emma Hayes announced that she was leaving, and it was like, oh no, are we going to be this powerhouse team that we have been in the Super League, in Champions League? Are we going to win a Champions League finally? They've got Sonia Bonpastor. They're now bringing in Naomi Girma. They have Mayra Ramirez. Chelsea is going to be fine. Naomi Girma is going to be fine. This is a fantastic move for her. I had to throw on my USA
Yeah,
German kit
represent.
today to chat about this, and I like to consider myself very, neutral when it comes to all the teams I cover and everything. I think I just became a Chelsea fan. I think I did.
I mean, come on over. It's fun over here.
I think I did. And NWSL fans that love watching her, guys, you can still watch her in the Women's Super League. It's back. I mean, it's happening. We preview it here on Attacking Third. Chelsea will host Arsenal this Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, and Attacking Third's episode on Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. We are previewing that match, and we're going to talk more about Girma to Chelsea, what that means, and get everyone else's opinions on it. Darian Jenkins, Christine Cupo. Final thoughts, Sandra, before we close out?
Massive. I just look, we keep watching this player grow in a multitude of ways, and it's we're so lucky to be on this side where we get to witness this history happening. Kind of feels like year in and year out when it comes to Girma.
It is an absolutely amazing transfer, record breaking deal. U.S. women's national team defender Naomi Girma is set to transfer to Chelsea for $1.1 million. We'll be back on Thursday with more Attacking Third, 11 a.m. Eastern time. You can watch us on the Galazzo Network and listen everywhere you get your podcasts. Let us know your thoughts on Naomi Girma to Chelsea, what you think about us. Let us know, and we'll see you Thursday.